Here is what you might think as useless knowledge, but all knowledge relates to something and is linked to the development of one's life. First, here is a Bible verse, Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 3. Bread is a lesson in God's provision, teaching that people live on every word from the Lord. What I am sharing next is about bread going stale. Just ponder to yourself how this can relate to other things in life. The deeper our imaginations flow, the further we can dive into the depths of thought while discovering new things about reality. This is how bread stales. Bread stales due to a chemical process called retrogradation, which occurs when starch molecules in bread return to their original crystalline structure. During baking, water causes starch granules to swell and become linked to gluten to form the bread's crumb structure. As bread cools, water migrates away from the starch molecules, causing them to realign and form chemical bonds. This process makes bread firmer and less elastic and gives it a leathery, gritty texture. Bread staling can be accelerated by refrigerating it, as the starch molecules realign faster at cooler temperatures. Freezing bread is a better way to store it long term, as it slows down the staling process and prevents mold. When you're ready to eat the bread, you can put it straight from the freezer into the toaster or oven to re-gelatinize the starches and make it soft and chewy again. Conclusion: all we can do is slow down the process of change and keep something in a state we desire for a short period of time. But soon, time will win, and the forces of natural law will always win the battle. Here are 3 stories. First story, the bread of life. Have you ever thought about the humble loaf of bread sitting on your kitchen counter? Have you ever pondered its transformation from a delicious, soft delight into a hard, stale remnant? If not, let's dive in together and uncover the journeys that we just don't notice. There's a complex chemical marvel happening in your bread. It all starts with a simple process called starch gelatinization. When bread bakes, water makes the starch granules swell, coalescing with gluten to form the bread's crumb structure. The specific smell of fresh bread fills your kitchen, and the anticipation of a warm, fluffy piece reaches a peak. But as the bread cools down, it undergoes another process called retrogradation. This is where the water pulls back from the starch molecules, leaving them to realign and form bonds, leading the bread to become firmer and less chewy, staler and older day by day. Even simple bread carries within it a profound reflection of our own human journey. It reminds us that change is a natural outcome of growth, and although some may see it as wearing down or becoming stale, it's a sign that we're evolving and responding to the environments around us. The stalling of life, just like bread, is necessary for transformation. Let's start the second story now. Fresh bread, fresh insights. Imagine opening your kitchen cupboard, reaching out for a loaf of bread, only to find it has turned rock hard and stale. A disappointing start to the day, perhaps, but did you know there's a certain poetry, a dance of molecules that led to this transformation? Every slice of bread is like a tale of resilience, just waiting to unfold. Here it is, your everyday bread, a soft, moist delight that momentarily satiates our hunger. But beneath this humble exterior, a fascinating science plays out. Once the glorious spectacle of baking is over, the starch molecules in the bread begin a journey of retrogradation, a voyage to find their original form, their true selves. As the bread cools off, Water shyly retreats from these starch molecules, compelling them to realign, reform, and transform. And voila, you have your stale bread. It's not really bad or useless. It's simply firm and different. Quite the metaphor for life, don't you think? This innocuous process of bread stalling teaches us about resilience, about adaptability. Refrigeration may speed up the staling, but it's akin to the challenges we face in life. They may toughen us, strip away our soft exterior, but remember, it leads us back to who we truly are. Just like the starch molecules, returning to their original structure. So, the next time you come across a slice of stale bread, don't discard it. See it as a reminder that change and adaptability are just facts of life, and that resilience lies in going back to our roots, embracing our core, and becoming unapologetically ourselves. And now we reach our final story, From Crust to Crust. Picture in your minds a freshly baked loaf of bread, still warm and inviting as it sits on the kitchen counter. It's an embodiment of home, comfort, and nourishment, a product of time, skill, and nature's bounty. But, like everything in the universe, the bread too moves through its stages of existence. The glistening warmth of the bread gives way to the steady march of time, a process science terms as retrogradation. Much like we grow rigid with age, the bread too becomes firmer, less elastic, undergoing a fundamental transformation. This once inviting loaf now carries the markers of passing time. In our haste to dispose of it, labeling it stale and useless, we often miss out on the profound metaphor the little loaf of bread carries within itself. It's a reminder that transformations and change are integral aspects of life and existence. Even the comfort of home, warmth, and nourishment transforms, much like our relationships, our memories, our experiences. And much like these experiences, the often discounted stale bread, too, finds rebirth in the form of breadcrumbs, croutons, and even French toast. Just as nothing in nature goes to waste, no experience in life is futile. So next time you come across a piece of stale bread, I implore you, give it a moment of reflection before casting it aside. For in its simplicity lies an age-old wisdom reflecting the passage of time, enduring connections, and the cyclical nature of existence, from crust to crust. Here are Bible verses I would like to share before we conclude this journey. John chapter 6, verses 51-58. Jesus says, "I am the living bread that came down from heaven. Whoever eats this bread will live forever." Matthew chapter 26, verses 26-29. During the Last Supper, Jesus broke bread and gave it to his disciples, saying, "Take and eat. This is my body." Exodus chapter 16, verses 4-28. God told Moses to make it rain bread from heaven for the Israelites to eat. The Israelites were to gather enough food for each day, but on Friday, they would have enough for 2 days. Exodus chapter 16, verse 31. The Israelites named the bread manna, which is a Hebrew word that literally translates to, "What is it?" The bread was described as white, flaky, and tasting like wafers made with honey. John chapter 6, verse 31. The Bible verse, "Our fathers ate the manna in the wilderness. As it is written, He gave them bread from heaven to eat." Hope you enjoyed, and don't forget to subscribe. Where shadows dance with light, and words and melodies change and create reality, a juxtaposed duality resonating in harmony with words, music, and video, a trinity of symphony.